You can see two EPS antennas on the mountains ahead of us. We can now approach them and destroy them.
Oh boy, we have 2 new areas to go to. Clearly that means we'll have something new to do, and we won't have to go back to any of these areas. All those areas right there, won't have to go back to those, right? Right, guys? We got 2 whole new levels that we can go and we can do stuff in them, and they won't have to backtrack at all, right?
The objects on the summits are EPS antennas. I detect enemy activity. Watch for them on the approach.
So there are a bunch of porters here to blow up as well. They're optional though, but we'll skip me blowing up a bunch of them. But anyways, the antennas have a microwave field over them, so you can't blow them up from here. So you have to, hopefully, notice this place over here.
The emergency EPS generator is ahead of this maintenance passage. It is wiser to attack it rather than the EPS antennas. I will change the mission plan. Destroy the underground emergency EPS generator.
Thanks, I needed to be told that again. Anyways, it's kind of hard to notice this place if you never take a look at the map in the start menu, as it's kind of tucked into the corner of the map behind like a big hill, and the runway is short, and the draw distance in this map when you're outside is actually very short, I think done on purpose. It's a small area. It's got arrows that seem to point towards McDonald's. And they throw single enemies at us, which is kind of pointless because single enemies aren't too big of a threat in this game, except unless they're like incredibly high level, like level 8. So all we have to do to the generator is just shoot it a couple of times and it just blows the hell up.
The emergency EPS generator has been destroyed. The EPS has ceased functioning.
Alright, that's 1 generator down already. That only took 2.5 minutes. Should be pretty easy, right? Oh, by the way, I blew up all the porters.
We have obtained the
Just to get a new sub-weapon.
We have obtained the program.
So Halberd, for some reason, most other sub-weapons don't come with ammo, but Halberd does. Halberd is an attack that the shielded robots use, the mummy heads. This is just their burst attack, which I don't think they've used in the Tillis video. They're level 3 now, so, well, now they use burst attacks. I hate this attack because it goes straight through your shield. And when sometimes these guys come in like packs of 3, and they can just knock you in between their burst attack, like, constantly, and it can just murder you. So, just gotta take out one more generator, but wait, there's a question mark over here. Better go check it out. So, there's something new in the map, but it doesn't tell you exactly what, so you just have to look around. But again, it doesn't take particularly long since most of the maps in this game are pretty damn small. A second ago I mentioned how the mummy head's burst attack breaks through our shields. I haven't really explained how the shield mechanic works yet. Both you and enemies can use shields. They work the same way for both. All you do is press L1 and you'll bring up a shield. It's like a little green energy field that comes up in front of your robot. And shields will block all attacks except burst attacks and grabs.
We have shot down the enemy. We have obtained the
Also, this was what the question mark was referring to. It's a new sub-weapon. It's actually one of the few useful sub-weapons in the game. I don't have much reason to use it now, but I will in, like, I don't know, 30 seconds or something.
I recommend you initiate a one-on-one battle in different conditions. We have shot down the enemy. We have shot down the enemy. Enemy backup force is approaching our location. We have shot down the enemy.
Should also mention that the environment does damage to enemies too if you punch them into it. You don't have to punch them into another enemy to do damage to them. So this is the Mummy sub-weapon. It's actually defensive, and when you have it up, it counts as a shield and also regenerates your health while you have it up. It uses like 1 round of ammo every second and a half, 2 seconds. So you don't really need that much ammo for Mummy in order to restore like half of your health. It's actually pretty nice. Ammo for it is kind of rare though. If you want to get decent ammo for Mummy, you'd have to like find a place where it spawns, get it, leave, revisit the area again. Because there's only like 2 or 3 spots where you can get ammo for it. There's a second sub-weapon here too, but of course for some reason we gotta get the passcode for this one. I should mention, this game, just like Metal Gear Solid 2, uses one of those sort of like dynamic soundtrack things. Like in Metal Gear Solid 2, you would have one track of music, but it would change depending on whether or not you'd been found, or if you were in caution mode, or if you were just sneaking around. This game does the same type of thing, depending whether or not you're in battle or out of battle. And it also has like small musical cues for like some small things. For instance, anytime you're charging up a burst attack, there'll be like a musical cue for that. Same if you're trying to grab an enemy.
We have shot down the enemy.
It also changes for some other things, but I'm never quite sure since the transitions are so transparent. They're kind of hard to notice. Also, I should point out that this is where Mummy heads get... Like I said, Mummy heads get really annoying because this burst attack has a pretty big hitbox, and it makes them really hard to approach from the front.
We have obtained the passcode.
And they can turn on a dime, so they can always be facing you.
We have obtained the program.
So we got a new sub-weapon. For some reason, this one doesn't come with ammo, unlike Halberd. Geyser... I think I used it once throughout the recording of this whole game. I don't know if... I can't remember if I get ammo for Geyser or not, so I'll just say what it does. You throw a bunch of little balls and they shoot lasers out of them, and it stuns enemies. But it's not particularly useful. I think it also does like a teeny tiny amount of damage. It's another attack that the Raptors use.
The objects on the summits are EPS antennas. Destroy the underground emergency EPS generator.
Well, alright. Oh, I should also point out that for some reason the map shows the patrol routes of all the robots. Not particularly useful, but it's there. So, what we gotta do for the second generator is, well, the exact same thing we did in the previous map. In fact, this map looks almost exactly the same as the previous one. Incredibly similar.
Is that the same energy field as the one above?
That is correct.
Then we can't go any further.
That is correct. Let us depart this facility for now. We should try to find another way. I detect an enemy with a reinforced program. Be careful.
So, we got another roadblock on top of a roadblock on top of a roadblock in the game now. Nice. So the only lead we have now is that another group of enemies came into the map. Those guys over there that have a passcode. Should also point out that you have rings around you and they just point out where enemies are, which I really should have been paying attention to because I was really confused as to where the guys with the passcode had gone to. The answer is that they're below me. See the red ring? They're pointing right down. Should have looked at it. Oh, finally I noticed them. So we have a pack of 3 Cyclops dudes with the reinforced program thing. 2 of them level 3, 1 level 4. This can actually make them kind of tough. As you see, I'm down to about a quarter of my health already. Thankfully I have Mummy with me. And they're not smart enough yet to boost forward when I'm charging.
We have shot down the enemy.
Like I said, sometimes enemies will cooperate with each other. They just did that right there. One guy grabbed me so that both of them could just punch the hell out of me.
We are heading for the outer area of the battle zone. We have shot down the enemy.
So we got a passcode. There is a server in this map that needs a passcode, but it needs a different one because the server there is just for a sub-weapon. So the only lead we have now is that we got a passcode and it had a number at the end, which suggests that, well, somewhere in the game there's a second passcode. Where is it? I didn't know. I had to look it up. Yes, it's in the town. Of course!
There is an enemy with a reinforced program in this area. It will look the same, but its fighting ability will be far superior. Be careful.
It's very nice that random, unmanned robots carry very important passcodes for things and then are allowed to wander around.
We will hold battle position. We have shot down the enemy.
I'm sure some of you are wondering by now exactly how long this game is and how far we are into it. The answer is, right now, we are pretty close to being halfway through the game already. I recorded this game in 2 sittings, and it only took me about 3.5 hours to beat. When I first played this game, back when I was like, 14 or something, this game took me about 10 hours to beat, and the other 7 hours was just, the padding and not knowing where all the passcodes were and not really have an idea where to go next. Now, as for why this game is so short and has so much padding, probably just because I think this game was more of practice with the PS2 hardware, since this game and MGS2 were being made at the same time by similar teams, and the PS2 was still very new at the time, and so it seems like they just made this as sort of like a test to get used to the PlayStation 2's hardware before they worked on a much bigger game. Also, even though this is credited as a Hideo Kojima game, he's not the director of the game, he's the producer. He, can't remember the name of the guy, but it's just somebody else on Kojima's team who got the privilege of actually being the director for the game. So I guess it was like a pet project of his or something. And the game sold well enough that I was able to get a much, much, much better sequel. Also, these mummy heads are annoying as hell because there's 3 of them and they just constantly use the burst attack, and it makes it very hard to do any sort of damage to them. Especially since they have their shields up most of the time, like right now, and that blocks your projectile attacks. I should also mention that when they're doing your burst attack, you can't hurt them with a burst attack of your own. They'll just, when they collide, they'll just cancel each other out. Well, now we have 2 passcodes, But the problem is now, where the hell do we use these 2 passcodes we found? Well, the answer is not to go to the area where we found the first passcode, but to go to the first antenna area that we were at the very beginning of the video, of course. And then go underground, obviously. And it's really hard to notice this because the camera doesn't turn quickly, because you usually don't have to do that in this game. It moves very slowly. So it's really hard to notice that you can actually hang a right here, and at the end of the hallway there will be a server. It took me so long to find this the first time I played this game.
We have obtained the program. We have obtained a Raptor control module. With it, you can operate an unmanned orbital frame which is not currently under control by remote.
So I can control those skeletons? Wait a moment, Ada. Raptors are not affected by energy fields.
Because they lack vital life forms, they are not affected by EPS.
That means we could guide a raptor into the passage.
It is highly possible.
Let's give it a try. Where is there a raptor not under control?
I do not think there is a raptor which is untouched. We must find one which is relatively undamaged by stray shots, or otherwise unaffected by the battle with Earth LEV forces. Those raptors which have fought against Jehuti are therefore not suitable.
You mean we must find a raptor which is undamaged and fully functional?
I think I saw one somewhere.
So that's the only hint you get as to where you can find an undamaged raptor. But of course, we've already been to the area where we can get this raptor. In fact, every time you go to the area,
We have shot down the enemy.
the opening little cutscene thing while it loads to the level focuses on the raptor. It's the one town area where there's both a raptor and a LEV robot
We
crashed.
have shot down the enemy. We will cease.
It's probably the easiest part of all this. Finding the passcodes is really annoying, and finding the server room is even worse. But anyways, be done with the antenna crap. Next video, thank God, and we can actually move on to some new areas that we can then backtrack through. See you next time.